Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our Cyber Talks series at Swiss Cyber Institute. My name is Samir Aliyev. I'm a founder and the CEO of Swiss Cyber Institute, in the same time, Program Director at the University of St. Gallen. Today, we are going to show you some very interesting topic which is relevant to everybody who is joining this event and who is working. They have digital access to the devices, to the applications, and most probably you are using multi-factor authentications, right? Therefore, we have very interesting topic today, which will be presented by Julian Kanitz. Julian is a lead sales engineer at Recorded Future for DACH region, and Julian is going to talk about protecting of our MFA. Is it secure? Is it not secure? If not secure, why? And he's going to show us some vulnerabilities, some methods that attackers are using to steal your MFA data. And this event is presented or hosted by Recorded Future. Recorded Future is the partner of Swiss Cyber Institute at the global conference. And the session will take around 40-45 minutes. Please use the Q&A button here or chat button to send your question during the presentation anytime. You're welcome to write us, and I will be very happy to read your questions to Julian at the end of the session, and we will answer all of your questions. I'm sure the session will be very interesting because it is relevant to everybody, relevant to me as well, and please stay online, send your questions, and we will go deep dive to the topics with Julian right away. Julian, the stage is yours. Welcome to the Cyber Talk series at Swiss Cyber Institute, and please welcome our attendees and start your presentation.
Yeah, thank you very much, Samir. It's a pleasure to be here, and I'm really excited to present the topic today. So first of all, good morning, grüezi, and hello. My name is Julian, and I'm going to talk a little bit about protecting identity with multi-factor authentication. It's a little bit provocative question in there as well, like secure but not secure enough, probably. And I'm going to present this to you. You can already see a raccoon in the background, so there's a reason why there's a raccoon in the background of my title. And let's go into it. So my name is Julian Kanitz. I'm lead sales engineer with Recorded Future. So I'm covering the German-speaking regions in Germany, Austria, Switzerland. You can find me on LinkedIn, so feel free to connect to me and reach out if you have any questions afterwards. So this is the agenda for today. So we're breaking it down into several topics. First of all, I would like to introduce you to Recorded Future, because I think it's important also what Recorded Future is doing to understand why I'm going to present this kind of topic. So I'm giving you an overview. This will not take too long. The main part will be the second and the third part. So first of all, I would like to share a story about an info stealer, about what kind of info stealer malware is out there, for example, and what kind of possibilities do you have with info stealer and where can you get them, this data. The third part will be MFA bypass methods. So this will be a very interesting part as well, because here we can see how do attackers use MFA bypass methods to circumvent MFA and to get access to accounts or to different logins. So this is one of the crucial pieces of the session today, in the context with InfoStealer, because this is one of the parts of MFA bypass methods. And then in the end, in the fourth part, I will discuss about what are the takeaways of the session, and probably also takeaway questions which you can take with you. And the last 10 minutes are planned for doing Q&As. So we do a Q&A session. And you have the possibility to ask your questions, and feel free to submit them in the Q&A button. And I'm happy to jump in and have discussions. If you need to drop off earlier and still have questions, like I said, feel free to reach out to me. I'm always happy to get in touch with you in LinkedIn and clarify some things afterwards. So let's start. So the first point, what and who is Recorded Future? So I brought this slide with me because I think this is a very, very important slide. So you can see 3 different bubbles which are flowing into each other. So what we want to show here is you need a visibility in terms of threat intelligence from the beginning of an attack or planning of an attack until the attack happens. So what we split into it, so it doesn't help you if you only have a compromised credential, if you don't have the context about, for example, a stealer malware which stole this credential and which threat actor is using this credential. So this is a very important point for persistent coverage over the whole attack chain. So what we have here is adversaries and intent, nation state threat actors, criminal groups, other actors. You can see the infrastructure they build. So it doesn't matter if they have C2 nodes open, if they have IPs or infrastructures built, and the organizations they target with identities, with credit card information, with corporate networks, endpoints, and so on. So the visibility from the beginning to the end is one of the specialities of Recorded Future. So we try to combine everything to get a full picture of attack vectors in the attack chain here. So how do we do this? So we as Recorded Future, we work in the threat intelligence space, and we have visibility into a lot of different sources where we collect data from. So this could be, I'm always explaining technical sources and closed sources or open sources, but it's a lot. And just to give you an example, what the collection consists. So there are, for example, some hacker forums or other forums, paste sites, blog social media, research, technical collections, code repositories, dark web collections. So this is all in these 3 categories I just described, from technical and closed and open sources. So this is where we start with, and this is all in an automated collection, which means we are bringing a lot of context in there, and we need to categorize, classify, and interpret this data. And this all happens in real time. So what do we do then with the data? So we have on the left side, we can see on the one hand, the attack chain, what we saw in the beginning, and also the different data we are collecting from these kind of points. Every data, what we collect, comes into our machine where we structure, analyze, and deliver the data into several modules. And this is a very important point, that the Recorded Future intelligence graph within our so-called intelligence cloud connects the dots to each other. And this is a crucial piece of this, to being able to deliver this data in several modules. So you can see we split this into several modules. And I've brought another picture where you can see these are the different modules with the different use cases we are providing there. So there are different use cases, probably not for everyone, but today what we talk about a little bit is the identity intelligence module, because here we talk about account takeover, and this has a connection to the MFA bypass method. The last piece before I'm going to start with the main part of the session, we're going to integrate into a lot of different tools. Doesn't matter if it's a SIEM or a SOAR tool. We're going to integrate in them because we want to increase the power of these existing tools already. So most of the organizations, companies pay a lot of money for the SIEM or SOAR solution, and we can drive and empower them with our intelligence in these kind of tools to even get more out of these tools. So this was the first part, like I mentioned, about Recorded Future. Who are we? What are we doing? I think it's important to get the context and to set the scene. So now the next part will be about info stealers, cookies, and beyond. I hope some of you already heard about stealer malware. So when we talk about stealer, we're talking about specific malware, which could be, for example, a raccoon stealer, a redline stealer, meta stealer, mass stealer, Azerol, Vida. There are a lot of different variants out there, which sometimes slightly different versions only. But these are rising big time for threat actors. So I'm always saying compromised credentials is candy for dark web actors, because it's like being a kid and getting credentials. This is the same thing for dark web actors or for criminals or for threat actors, and they still need to use this kind of methods, or they need to invent new methods. So there are different parts of credentials where you can have visibility into. So there are so-called dark web data dumps where, for example, if you log in with your company email address into a third-party application, and this third-party application gets compromised, the data normally is leaked in so-called low-tier forums in the dark web, where this is going to be published for a small payment or for free. And then this data from the third party with your company email address is matched in the state at dark web data dumps. So these dark web data dumps, the critical piece here is that the password, not everyone is as security sensitive as we are, and the passwords can be reused in, for example, company systems or software. What we talk about today is a different topic. So here we really talk about stealer, which means stealers are infecting end devices and are going to steal a lot of different things. And this is what we take a look at now. So if we take a look at the risk of compromised credentials, this is still a high risk, because they were used in 50% of attacks in 2022. 50%, this is a lot. So still, the attackers, they need to get access into an initial access into a company when they want to breach or ransom them. They still need this initial access. And if when we see later, the phishing is also a part of the credential stealing process. So if you combine them, you have even more percentage which are part of stolen credentials. So stolen credentials are a crucial piece your company, your organization should take a look at. And there are new ways and new techniques which are used, which I will elaborate today. Because not only username and password combinations are getting stolen, there's much more which can get stolen from a device if this device is infected by an stealer. So this is an initial access vector to get this kind of stealer malware downloaded or infected in the machine. So you can see on the right side here, you can see some examples what people are downloading for example, to have an MSI Afterburner, or to have TradingView Desktop, or to have MetaTracker 5. So you can see in this statistic in here, the different things which are downloaded, which get you infected by an stealer. Probably you've seen CC Cleaner, or C Cleaner, Crack Plus Key, Sherlock exe, Setup by exe. So there's a lot of common things. So stop, and here's the point: stop downloading unlicensed software. This will get you infected, and this will get you an stealer set up. And we will see later, because everyone is expecting that enterprise antivirus or endpoint protection will detect this kind of software or this kind of stealer. They do not. Not all of them detect stealer. And this is the critical and crucial piece here, because stealers are not made to infect once a device and steal once username password combination and more. They are made for continuously stealing information from a device without getting detected from an AV or endpoint protection. So this is an important part, and this should also be a takeaway for you, that you should really take care of what kind of unlicensed software you're downloading and what's in there as well. So this is the part of the initial access vector. If we take a look at the next phase, you can see where can I get access to this kind of stealer malware. So once the initial access with a lot of unlicensed software is distributed, or via phishing mails or via some files, the end devices are infected, and then we have something which is called dark web marketplaces. So we have dark web marketplaces. In this screen, you can see on the right, you can see Genesis Store, and on the left, you can see Russian Market. So these are one of the most common used dark web marketplaces where they are selling a lot of information. And this is what I mentioned before. It's not only a username password combination, it's more than this. So just imagine you're going to use your Google Chrome browser or a Chromium-based browser where you save all your passwords and all your logins in your webmails. Not only the username password combination is saved, no, also if you have a multi-factor authentication, the so-called session cookies are also saved there. So, and this is a critical piece, because this is a piece which can get you past the multi-factor authentication. Because if you can, if they are selling fingerprints, cookies, inject scripts info, grabber logs, saved logins, and other personal data, could be crypto wallets or similar, then this information, you can download this information or buy this information and then upload it again. So Genesis, for example, has their own tool, which is called Genesis Security plugin for Chrome. So you can upload this or and buy this information, download it, and upload it again in your Genesis profile security plugin, and then imitate the browser where this got stolen from. And this is where it gets really, really critical. So what you can see here, you can see several parts. So you can see this is the bot name. You can see all the timestamps in here. You can see that two computers are involved in here. You can see what access to which kind of tools the compromised machine has. So you can see from GitHub, Twitter, Spotify, Office 365, a credit card, Cisco, Steam, Live, Facebook, Netflix. So for $67, you can buy this access, and you have all the information of the cookies, of the fingerprints, of the password username combinations. So let's take a look a little bit into a cookie-based authentication. So if you go, for example, in Chrome into the developer tools, you can see that these kind of cookies are going to get saved if you're going to have a multi-factor authentication. And this is the part where the info stealer also steps in and takes this information and sends it, for example, with a post request to a crime server. So this is the cookie-based authentication, which is happening on every device. What you can see that if you have a cookie-based authentication, this is happening. And if you're infected by an info stealer. So I brought a GIF with me, and just take a look at what's happening here. So this is how you can import cookies into a browser and how easy this is. So you can see on the left side now we have 0 cookies in the browser data. But if we wait a little bit, you can see now we have 3,139 cookies. And this is exactly how this is happening. So you can import the cookies into your dashboard, and it's easy as that. So you just download the cookies, paste it in there, and save it, and upload and put the cookies in there. And you have all the cookies set up in your own browser, which you can imitate then the browser with. If we go one step further and take a look what I was telling you before, that you have here the plugin for browser Genesis Security, where you can exactly use these cookies and decide which computer you want to use this for example. So you have different computers, you have the different bots in here, and you can directly, when you buy them, for example, you can directly download them in Genesis Security, which is the plugin, and directly imitate this browser. So it's fairly easy to go ahead and not only just buy, but what can I do with this kind of information? So Genesis Security makes it pretty easy to download this information, put it in the plugin, and directly imitate the browser. The last part, before we're going to switch into MFA bypass methods, is the AV Hall of Fame enterprise hosts, which did not detect the info stealer is there. So did not detect on the initial access. And what you can see here, modern endpoint AV solutions don't detect stealers on Windows enterprise hosts. Victims execute legitimate software, and this is a crucial piece. An AV or endpoint protection is not going to protect you to detect or to get infected by an info stealer. So on the other hand, that you have this kind of information about info stealer now and what is possible with importing and uploading cookie sessions into Google Chrome or in Genesis Security plugin very easy, is this is a very important point that you need to protect, and you need to go ahead of this and have another capability to detect this kind of compromised credentials which are coming from stealer malware. And this is one piece of our identity intelligence module. Okay, I hope this makes sense so far. In the next part, I'm talking about different MFA bypass methods. So we have seen already one of these methods where we will talk a little bit about in the next phase again. But the MFA bypass methods, there's not only one. So stealer malware is one of them, but we have more MFA bypass methods which are out there and which are commonly used. Probably the one or the other have already heard about some specific tools or some specific techniques which are used to bypass MFA. Why is this important? I think this is a fair question, and I want to answer this question because I think it's important before we go into the details of MFA bypass methods. So why is it important? I think if we look back 5 years, MFA was starting to evolve and starting to saturate the market. I think we are now in a phase where the MFA as a login must criteria for a lot of companies is already in place, and we have already a very good saturated market. I think what MFA is trying to do is trying to give us a false sense of security, or is giving us a sense of security. I don't say MFA is not good at all. It's fantastic, and you should use MFA. We will talk about this later a little bit. But I think it's important to also take a look at what possibilities are going to have threat actors to go past beyond MFA, because you have seen in the first slide of the last part, 50% of breaches start with initial access. If the criminal, if the cyber criminal lose completely the access, the initial access, they're going to develop MFA malware. They're going to develop new techniques to bypass MFA. So this is why I think it's very important to have it to take a look at the bypass methods. And like I said, it's not that I say MFA is not good at all. You should have MFA. This is a critical piece here as well. So if I go one step further in the MFA bypass method, so what I would like to explain, I would like to share a use case from Uber. Probably a lot of you have heard of what happened with Uber and how the criminal get access to Uber initially. And I want to walk this step by step through it. So we have an attacker. It could be any attacker. For sure, it depends on in which industry are you and what kind of attackers could supposedly attack you. So this is one piece here. The attacker is sending, most of the time, or in the case of Uber, sends a malicious link. So we should be aware that malicious links can not only send via email. So there are a lot of other possibilities, like Discord, Twitter, SMS, email, YouTube at all. For example, and this doesn't stop at this, what you can see here. There are a lot of more. When we talk about, I don't know, let's make a small story out of this. So if I have kids and my kids are between, I don't know, 10 and 16 years old, and they're using one computer, what you have as a family at home, and they're playing computer games, and they have the Discord channels, and they're clicking on a link where they can download a cheat for the game. Then they're clicking on it, they can download the cheat is working, but also with the cheat, what's coming is an info stealer, which is infecting the device. So when you as a adult then use this private computer from your family at home to quickly access, because you forgot your laptop logged in your company, to log in quickly in your company email or whatever, then this credential gets stolen. And believe me, this is happening often, very, very often. So malicious link, this is how the Uber use case started. The next part is the payload. So Microsoft is not sure at all if they now deactivate macros or now deactivating the deactivated macros. So they're coming back to macros. So definitely, this is also one topic which will not fit in our discussion today, but Microsoft will also define where the development of future malware will be, if it's a macro-based or a Windows utility-based malware. But what we see is in the payload, you can see there are ISO files, RAR files, or a simple link in there, how the payload gets distributed in this Uber case. So, and then we just saw, and this is why I think it is important that we took a look beforehand into the different stealer malware and the credential stealing processes of InfoStealer, because stealing creds is one crucial piece. And you can see Raccoon Stealer, Redline Stealer, Vida Stealer. So you have all the different stealer malware in here. And this is one crucial piece of getting credentials, but not only credentials, also bypass MFA methods. And we assume that this happened to the Uber case. So like I said, there are several methods. We should also be aware that what you have seen in Russian market or Genesis store, that you have the possibility to have a purchase, a sale in a dark web marketplace, but there's also a community within threat actors which are having their own tools and tool sets, where they are distributing on their own and getting the information only in their distributed network. So there's also different ways and parts of how this exchange can happen. Then after this happens, they get a username password combination, and doesn't matter, probably not all of the compromised identities you can get always a cookie with it. So sometimes there are no cookies in it. So the next step would be then the MFA bypass method itself. And this is where we take a look a little bit deeper later. So what they did in here, so they had Duo Security. So Duo Security is a multi-factor authentication app where you get the authentication via SMS or WhatsApp, where you then get a message and then penetrate this person as long as they're going to accept this message. And we will come to this when we take a look at the MFA bypass methods. So then if they get the access, if they have successfully bypassed MFA, they're going to scan the intranet, they're going to scan different software, different hard-coded parts. And in this case, they had successfully gained access to a PowerShell with a hard-coded secret in there, and with this they got access to the privileged access management and here to all these different things. So this is a very common technique, and very common that this is happening this way, that they for sure try to have the lateral movement when they initially get access to scan the different techniques. And you can see that there are some very, very critical things in here where they got access to. So this is an example of a successfully bypass use case with Uber, which impacted in a big breach, what we saw there, which was very public available. So there are a lot of happenings, especially with compromise and credentials and MFA bypass methods, which we don't see that often in there. So this is one piece, like I said. So, but what we focus on today, and this is why this has a highlighted section here, we're focusing on MFA bypass. And the next step in the session will be, I will walk you through the different types of MFA bypass methods. Okay, so let's start. So this is MFA fatigue is a very, very common use case, and probably the one or the other already heard or read about this technique, that this was used in several attacks. So the MFA fatigue bypass method is a very, very, very easy one. So what's happening is they're going to spam you as long as you're going to approve this request. So you can see here, this is the message: I was spamming employee with push authentication for over an hour. I then contacted him on WhatsApp and claimed to be from Uber IT, told him if he wants it to stop, he must accept it. And well, he accepted and I added my device. So, and this is exactly how this is happening. It's not only that he is going to spam the employee for 1 hour, but also then contacted him because he also got his phone number. He contacted him via WhatsApp and said, hey, I'm Uber IT, please accept this because otherwise it will not stop. So he got another social engineering technique in there to compromise him. So there are several ways how we can protect against this. So on the one hand, a multi-factor authentication tool should make sure that you're not able to get more than 10 requests or 5 requests within a specific time frame. So if you can make sure that your multi-factor authentication service is doing this and you're not getting spammed, or the possibility of spamming is not there, this is already a very, very good step into hardening the multi-factor authentication against fatigue. So what you can see here is Duo Mobile. So this was exactly the case how it happened to Uber. So this was spammed. So he sent him over 1 hour push notifications, and he always clicked on deny. Now just imagine if you use your phone and you don't have the night sleep option on your phone, and you're getting at 3 a.m. at night, you're getting 100 messages. At one point you resist, you can't resist anymore, and you're going to click the approve button. And this is really stories what we heard and read also on different attacks, how they happened. So this is the first part of MFA bypass, what's possible. The next part are so-called OTP bots. So here it's getting a little bit more tricky and a little bit more clever from the attacker side. So not only that we are going to have bots available, which you can use, for example, there are bots in Telegram or Discord, which you can use, but attackers also set them up and have a very clever method to have these kind of techniques to use it. So let's take a look at the process of a OTP bot MFA bypass. So the initial setup, you can do this. For example, what's really common is with Discord or Telegram, and so this is this is then set up with Twilio, for example, as a communication platform, and the login details from the different Stealer malware, what we can see. And this is then going to trigger a two-factor authentication, for example, via SMS. And immediately after the SMS is going to be triggered to log in with the two-factor authentication, we're going to initiate a call where we have an automated call where the person is going to be asked to enter his two-factor authentication code and imitating a service what he probably is using. And then if you're going to send the OTP and submit the OTP, this OTP is submitted into the Discord channel back again, and then you can gain access to his private network, Apple Pay, PayPal, could be also potentially a company access, but this is a common technique. So there are a lot of services out there which are providing this kind of information. Doesn't matter if it's I don't know, SMS Ranger, SMS bypass, Pizza OTP. So there are a lot of different tools which are used by threat actors and criminals to bypass MFA with OTP bots. And believe me, this is a very, very easy technique. And like I said in the beginning, not everyone is as security sensitive as all of you probably, and we are. So don't expect, I don't know, people which are not working in security or IT at all to have everything in common and know everything about this bypass methods. And I think this is one very important thing for me today is I want to share this information with you. I want to share the different MFA bypass methods with you so you're aware and can act on it. So yeah, so we did MFA fatigue and OTP bots. The next part is where we already took a look at. So info stealer cookies. Again, so if we take a look at the these are the different info stealers which we have in visibility into from Record Future side. So you can see in the last 90 days there was a rise of 320 million compromised credentials. Now, again, this is Russian market where you can, for example, here we have a Vida stealer, and you can see the different information about the links again. This is the structure, it's in a zip file, and you can see the size, and this is going to be sold. Normally what we see standard in Russian market is for around $10. In Genesis store, it's around $15.60. Strange prices, but this is exactly the average, I would say, in this kind of marketplaces. And as I said before, you can see you can always verify if you have a cookie or not. And if you can see Google Chrome, there's a login, there's a password, and there's a cookie. So you have a cookie for all these different sites. So these are now related to Brazil. You can already see this is hosted from an ISP in Brazil, because you also have the IP address where this got stolen from. So there's a lot of different things. And here you have the authentication.uber.com in here as well. And within login, password, and cookie. And this is something what we have seen in a high tier forum. So we have to differentiate between low tier forums and high tier forums. There's also something which is very, very targeted. So you can then have very targeted compromised credentials coming from stealer malware for specific companies, for specific users, for RDP access in here from a 5 million revenue company with a domain admin. Then it starts a little bit more expensive. So you have the start is $1,500, and then it's a bid, and you can buy directly for $2,500. And you can see there's automotive industry documents inside, 60 devices, and network AV Sentinel. So it was some years ago. So in the low tier forums, it's more like that you have really the company names in there sometimes, or you refer to industry. But in this high tier forums, they will not post the company name in there. So they will refer to revenue and industry mostly, and let you know to what kind of devices this has access to this account. And so this is then in a high tier forum. So this is so now we have MFA fatigue, SMS OTP bots, info stealers. Next part is malicious injection. So in the malicious injection, we have I took an example with Sova. So Sova is an example, is a malicious malware which was used, and I have I want to show you some steps what they developed and what they did. So what they did is they had a two-factor authentication interception and theft of cookie related information, again also from the malicious malware. So this was one step. Then we saw fake Android applications. So they imitate the different fake Android applications. Doesn't matter if it's Google Chrome, Amazon, NFT, crypto marketplaces or similar. And in April, what we have seen is they have over 200 banking and crypto and wallet apps, which they imitate. And with them, you're going to download this malicious malware, and this malware is then going to intercept the information to two-factor authentication, and is going to send it to the criminal who's going to implement this malicious malware or plant this, let's say. So this is also a common technique. For sure, from a standpoint, if you think about the technique, it's very similar to an info stealer infection. But this is what we still see. And then also very common, if you're listening to podcasts, I'm a big fan of Darknet Diaries from Jack Rhysider. So Jack Rhysider also describes, and there's a fantastic, you can see this afterwards here. There's a SIM swap bypass method. So what's happening here? So first of all, the reconnaissance phase. This is the most important phase of this technique, because otherwise you don't have enough information to trick someone. Because the second phase is the trick phase. So what will happen is you're going to buy a SIM card or have a SIM card at home. You're going to know exactly the number and all the details about the victim you want to perform a SIM swap with. You're going to call the telecommunication provider of this person and tell them that you want to move your SIM card because you have a new SIM card. And then they probably ask you about very, very basic information, sometimes a little bit more detailed information about this person, your address, your last numbers of your bank account, your phone number, your full name, your address, your postal code, your city where you live in. So then you tell them the number of your SIM card, and then they initiate the swap. And with this swap, it's very easy, because then if the two-factor or multi-factor authentication is based on an SMS, then you're going to get access over the SMS over this. like I mentioned, it's episode 112. Jack Resider, Darknet Diaries, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Dirty Comms. It's a very, very interesting show, especially this episode when we talk about SIM swapping. It's a very young community, I would say, in the SIM swapping community, but it's still working like crazy. So if you have time, tune in and take a look at or listen to episode 112 on Jack Resider's Darknet Diaries. So, and I've seen already a question, so some questions on the board. And Rico, you're absolutely right, and this is also a recommendation what we say here. But not everyone is using hardware tokens to perform the multi-factor authentication. So the recommendations based on the techniques I've shown you, and also based on the info stealer possibilities and details which can be stolen from our info stealer, these are our recommendations, or my recommendations, what I would use. So still, please use authentication apps. Multi-factor authentication is very, very important and is enabling us to hardening a little bit more our login and identity and access policy, let's say. Make sure, like I said, that probably you have a limit of how much push authentications can be sent within a specific time frame with your identity and access management provider, or also the authentication apps you're using, especially if it's with SMS or with other techniques. Make sure you're going to limit the number of SMS which can be sent in a specific time frame. Then you're in a very good spot already. So hardware keys, very important piece. So if you think about, if you're a company with 20 or 30,000 employees, probably this is not should not be a critical thing to roll out everything. It's also not cheap to roll out all hardware keys at one point. You can see here a UB key where you have to touch the field in here to get it activated, and have to physically put it into your device. So what we always recommend is have a security circle and see who has access to critical information, and based on this, you can then roll it out to the inner circle of employees, and then step by step giving it also to the other employees. And the third part is for sure employee awareness. I would not think that every employee needs to understand everything in security practices and security possibilities there. But I think it's from my employee awareness, it's always good to also put some examples of MFA bypass methods in there to see what they have to think about, or what's happening when they're going to get 100 authentication requests and so on. So these three parts would be my recommendations for the part of the MFA bypass. So one last or two last slides from my side before we jump into the Q&A. So modern threats require modern solutions, or modern intelligence. So what are the takeaways from the session today? I think there are some takeaways which you really should take away if you didn't know already about this. So info stealer are also stealing fingerprints, cookies, scripts, and other things. Different possibilities of MFA bypass. So we had 5. We had MFA fatigue, we had OTP bots, we had info stealer, we had malicious injection, and we had SIM swap. So make sure you're going to take away this 5 different MFA bypass techniques. I didn't go into very detail of this kind of techniques. So if you want to learn more about this, reach out to me, or read their fantastic articles on the several security sites out there, which you can read and which you can dig into in a more detail. Make sure you have a sufficient account takeover strategy in place. I think this is a crucial piece that we have seen 50% of attacks are still starting with a compromised credential. So you should make sure you have a sufficient ATO strategy therefore in place. And then authentication apps, hardware keys, and awareness training. I mean, this was the last slide. Take this away and please make sure you're going to spread this information about the different bypass techniques. Just some takeaway questions which you can take away for yourself and ask yourself or in your organization. What kind of MFA is your organization using? Did you experience any indications of an MFA bypass method? How's your security team detecting account takeover and identity compromise? Are you currently monitoring the latest trends and in initial access TTPs? What insights do you have into your organization's exposure on high fidelity forums and invite-only sites? So I know I won't leave this slide for 5 minutes, but this is a recorded session, so make sure you tune in afterwards and make sure that these questions are going to be taken away and be taken into the company and organization if you not only already take care about all the different topics. Yeah, and this was my presentation today. So we have now 8 minutes left for a Q&A. So I just want to emphasize from Recorded Future side, we have a fantastic research group. We have a fantastic news channels. Probably you were aware of the Record. This is one of the best security sites out there. We also have a podcast which is called Click Here. I'm also listening to every single episode of this. If you like Darknet Diaries, you should definitely make sure to also listen to Click Here, which is powered by Dina Temperesten from Recorded Future. And also make sure you watch out and look out for several analyses from our INSEE group of Recorded Future. They are distributed over the most common channels in LinkedIn or similar sources. But yeah, if you want to know more, get in touch with me, contact me directly over LinkedIn. But now let's move on to the Q&A. So I'm just reading.
So thank you very much, Julian. It was really a very useful session and I also enjoyed, learned a lot. But we have some questions for you to answer. I'm going to read the first question if you want, and then you can answer the questions. Is it possible to prevent storing MFA session IDs in the browser settings as it is possible to prevent passwords?
I'm honest, I'm not sure about this because you still need some kind of authentication in the browser so the browser knows that you're authenticated. So I guess this will not solve the problem to have this inside there. Good,
thanks a lot. The second question is about another standards. Haven't we solved these problems already with FIDO2 standards or hardware tokens? Is it helpful or still there's some gaps?
Yeah, I think I answered this because I read it already in parallel. Definitely 100% sure, agree, Rico. This, if it solves everything, I'm not sure. It definitely is a good step, and also because of it's not the cheapest solution to get for, and also if you lose your hardware token, you have a duplicate. You need to have a duplicate. So probably it makes sense to roll out 2 to each person. So just imagine if you have an organization with 30,000 people and users, and you need to roll out 2 hardware tokens to every person out there. So like I said, make sure you find out what is the people who have access to critical and sensitive information first, make it in a circle, roll it out to these people, software developers, security teams, CISO office. All these people should have an hardware token. Definitely, I agree 100% with you, Rico. And then we can solve a lot of MFA issues already, 100%.
Great, thanks a lot, Julian. I have another question for you. That I understand that MFA, I guess, password managers must still be in de facto. Should security team enforce MFA for their users on a more frequent basis, and how often? For every login, or it is too much? Which steps should organization take to mitigate compromised identities?
Yeah, so for the first question, I think and this is a challenge we have everywhere. It doesn't matter if it's on a proxy, on a firewall, to adjust it between usability and security. So I think we should not enforce it too much, but on an unregular basis, let's say. It should frequently be asked for multi-factor authentication. That people should get used to it. They're good tools. So I don't want to promote any other vendors here, but Okta is a fantastic tool where you can easily access without typing in a password with biometric identification over your smartphone to get access to this kind of services. So I would not scale this to a level where you say you're going to have on every login, on every 10 minutes after you get out of the session, you're going to have a multi-factor authentication. Definitely make sure that it's also user-friendly and not too security heavy. But also, on the other hand, make it sure that it's safe and not too easy to bypass. And the second question, which steps should organizations take to mitigate compromised identities? Definitely make sure to contact me. We at Recorded Future, we have a fantastic module called Identity Intelligence module. But you should make sure that you're going to monitor this compromised identities, because you can read out a lot of good information from this kind of stealer malware. We at Recorded Future, we have so-called playbooks for investigations, what we find on Russian market or Genesis store, but also have a module, identity intelligence module, where we provide the compromised identity from intellectual property, where we gather this information from.
Great. I have another question, Julian. As you mentioned, it might also to push the employee to have a lot of MFAs or changing passwords, might push them to use very easy passwords. And I remember Microsoft suggests for several years ago that you have to change your password every 30 days or 90 days. And recently they changed the policy that you shouldn't change your password because it will cause that the employee is using very easy guessable passwords. And password management plus MFA or 2FA, is it the next generation security for us, or shall we have just password management and MFA to put on the second stage if it's not that secure?
Yeah, it's a very, very good question, Samir. So I'm not sure if we make it too complicated sometimes for let's say simple employees. For probably we have to differentiate in which teams we are going to enforce which kind of policy. So like I said before, if you have a team which has access to very critical intellectual property, like a software development team, make sure to make it safe. Make sure. So you should definitely see what's out there, what's possible, and what can we make from a multi-factor authentication and also from a password policy. I think also it was always said you need a capital letter, a small letter, a special symbol, and so on in the password policy. And then they changed it and said it has to be long, not complicated. So depending on what you're using, I'm the fan of having long passwords, but not too complicated. So not easy passwords, but still generated with a password manager, for example. So password manager is always a good solution to store this kind of passwords, to make it easy for the employees to have it stored in a safe environment. The best solution is for sure if you have stored it only locally on your machine and not on a cloud-based tool, but then you cut off the usability again. So it's like I said, it's always a change between usability and security. But yeah, definitely make sure to don't lose and make sure you have also on your private accounts, from email, from PayPal, from Amazon, whatever, multi-factor authentication. Yeah,
that's for sure. Great. It was a great session with you, Julian. Thanks a lot. It is already 12 o'clock. We don't want to take a lot of time of our attendees from their lunchtime. Thanks a lot
Yes.
for your presentation. It was very useful. I would like to thanks to our the attendees that you stayed with us here. You will receive a follow-up email with the recording links, and please stay tuned. And you can also reach out to Julian anytime in case you have a specific question or request. Thanks a lot. One more time, Julian, please say your last words and we will close the session very soon.
Yeah. Thank you, Samir. Thank you, Cyber Swiss Institute. It was a pleasure to be here. I hope you had some takeaways from today. It was a pleasure, and feel free to reach out anytime. And happy weekend.
You too. Happy weekend. Have a nice afternoon.
Thank you. You too.
Bye.